Hey, geek guys and geek gals, this is the Comic Relief Crusader. We're going to be talking about a few things today. Hollywood, men, and the women and men who hate them. And along with me today, we are going to have a guest, Shoki.
It's a
Mr.
Shoki.
Shoki, how you doing?
I'm doing, sir. Thank you for having me
Awesome.
over here on your program.
Hey, glad to have you.
We discussed doing this a while back when I had you on my channel for that 5 hours
That's
that we talked that nobody watched.
of fun mirth and merriment.
Indeed, sir.
And now karma's a bitch, and you've come here. So,
well, I did say that we needed to have an occasional discussion because you and I have very similar views when it comes to these things, and your channel being what it is towards talking about how politics in a way are influencing nerd culture. I just knew at some point I needed to have this conversation with you one way or the other, whether it's this particular discussion or any of the ones that have come up.
Well, exactly, because the way things are going with movies, entertainment in general, is affecting our geek culture, and not necessarily, obviously, for the positive. It's just becoming riddled with identity politics up the wazoo. God forbid you mispronounce somebody's pronoun, and you get canceled forever.
This is entirely true, or in fact you get canceled for just making a very well referenced comparison to the way a certain political group managed to take over a country and persecute a specific group of people, to a very modern thing that's happening, and then you get absolutely canceled from everything by doing that.
Heaven forbid you have an opinion. So
have an opinion that goes against the Hollywood masters.
Yeah. Yes. Like say certain women in rap that happen to make comments of relatives in far off countries whose friends end up getting not married because of certain testicular issues. So,
well, I didn't want to get into this particular subject with you tonight.
No, and neither do I.
But I find but I find it amusing that this particular person that you're referring to is also part of an issue you have with a completely different actor in another situation. We're starting to notice a trend here.
No,
it's all around Nicki Minaj, guys. It's all around Nicki Minaj. Don't let him fool you. Mike loves Nicki so much that he has to defend her against those. He is the comic relief crusader after all. So
that's right. The apocalypse has truly come, and I've reduced myself to talking about that now.
So. When Nicki Minaj is literally being red pilled, yes, the end times are nigh.
Exactly.
Much like Bill.
I'm now waiting for pigs to fly, and not through the use of tornadoes or anything like that.
So here's where I include a quick pun through editing. The apocalypse is nigh, and the bill has come due. It's a Bill Nye joke. I'm trying to slip it in there.
You take your Bill Nye and
science.
I don't know.
Science the guy.
So Hollywood and the men who are hated by men and women. Oh boy. And Indiana Jones. It seems like these guys that we've grown up with just cannot escape the wrath of womanhood whatsoever.
For reference, you guys should go watch the other video he did about what's going on with Indiana Jones in the Indiana Jones 5 movie.
Yeah.
So that's where I guess somehow, some way, Mr. Harrison Ford is going to be stepping out of the role either by death or or bad writing, uh, and will somehow be replaced with said Whammon. Uh,
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people are more than likely going to be uh, quite upset about. There's a lot of rumor going on, a lot of what would seem to be valid rumor that
I knew,
Mrs.
I knew her. Valid rumor.
Yeah,
She was hot in high school.
I got no comeback for that.
All
So,
I know is she dressed like Raven for some reason, and I don't know why, but
yeah, yeah.
someone
Uh,
needs to draw this character. Valid rumor. The emo high school girl who dresses like Raven from Teen Titans.
I'm so depressed.
This is how we derail so fast. It's fun.
Oh, I bet. So, but they're not going to be as depressive. What happens with Indy 5?
I mean,
Yeah,
Indy
as
4 was bad enough in its own right. Let's just be honest here.
exactly, because it would seem like Miss Phoebe Waller Bridge is going to be set up to take the mantle of Indiana Jones in Indy 5. And it's rather curious how this is all going to come about, apparently. Um, some insiders within Lucasfilm are reporting that this more than likely is going to be a time travel. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. A time travel adventure where
Oh,
old
that's right.
Indy and Phoebe Waller Bridge are going to go back in time from the 60s to meet up with younger Indy. And then on top of that, older Indy ends up somehow getting killed, and Phoebe Waller Bridge ends up taking the mantle of Indiana Jones and essentially becomes the new Indiana Jones.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that in and of itself, terrible. Let's just be honest. If that story is true, it sounds really bad. Let's just be honest.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
without the her taking over, everything about it just sounds bad. Like, but it makes sense that the okay. So we've done Nazis, we've done the Bible, we've done South
Commies?
America. I said Nazis,
Well, yeah, I
commies
suppose.
too. So and we've done South American cannibal cults,
Yep.
and
And
we've
Molten Rom with, in India.
yep, and then also aliens. So time travel would be the last thing they could possibly do. I just gotta wonder if they'll somehow bring back any of the ancient artifacts we've already seen. That would be interesting. Uh, like
Yeah, it would be kind of a nice Easter egg
it,
because you sort of had that in Last Crusade.
yeah.
If you remember when Elsa and Indy
Mhm.
were going through the sewer and they happened to pass a picture of the Ark of the Covenant,
Yeah,
and Indy's like, "Oh yeah, pretty sure, that's
it's
it."
it's still locked away in a government or a warehouse somewhere. Like it would.
Yeah,
I'm just going to be honest here. This feels like Indy should have gone the way of Warehouse 13.
yeah,
Like that's really like Warehouse 13 was like really Indiana Jones's actual future. You know,
exactly.
I feel like somewhere in there they actually probably had the same Ark of the Covenant in some weird multiverse situation.
Quite possibly. See, because here's the whole problem with what Kathleen Kennedy is doing here.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go.
Aside
It's
from
all
what she did with
Kathleen's
Star
fault.
Wars, it's always Kathleen Kennedy. No, no, no. But hey, she hired um, Phoebe Waller Bridge,
Okay, okay.
specifically hired Phoebe
Hmm.
Waller Bridge. Okay,
Yeah.
for this movie. Um,
which is
because
interesting given the other topic we're going to lead into.
well, precisely,
As she,
and because she liked the work of what she did with James Bond,
yes,
right? So and how certain situations were written into James Bond. So one actually does lead into the other, right? So
those,
but first of all, the big problem with Indy 5
mhm,
is that, and I'm going to be using the Wayback Machine here. If
just like they
you
will.
remember the young Indiana Jones adventures
Hmm, hmm.
back in the 90s,
Yep, I watched them.
you remember old Indy,
No, I missed that part. Actually, sorry,
old gray Indy?
I missed that. Unfortunately,
Really? Okay.
I guess I didn't catch that.
Unfortunately, it was removed for some odd reason from the DVD series. But back during the TV show, there was actually old Indy, and whenever, say, there was a child or maybe a couple that wandered into the museum to take a look at certain artifacts and whatnot, he would start to tell this tale of when he
Oh,
was a kid, right?
oh, he's okay. Okay,
Yeah,
now I get it. Now I get it.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the thing was, he had an eye patch, he had glasses and whatnot. Um,
He
but
became a pirate.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
Q Indy 3, when he almost sank on that ship. So, but
I guess so. Yeah.
he could have been, but no, it had old Indy. So in a sense, you knew he was going to live an extremely long life, right?
Yeah.
To anyone that happens to remember Young Indiana Jones series, and if you don't, I would highly recommend that you pick up the DVD, which is probably on sale still right now. So, but yeah, to totally, it's like a retcon of the future
Yes, but
that they're going to do to Indy
you're
by
forgetting the obvious. Time travel.
yeah, yeah,
Canon be damned. It's like look at it like that. It's like when you've got nowhere else to go and you've got to fix the future or the present, you
yeah,
have to go with time travel. So whatever. Now, see, here's the thing. What if this turns into Men in Black 3, where they have to go back in time to save Kay from a time traveling villain because Kay gets killed in the past and Jay just
yeah.
happened to be it. So what if they're actually going to rescue Indy and then he retires and she takes over?
Well, I'm not
trying to put
sure,
a positive spin.
but the rumor is strong that they're killing off Indy.
And okay, let's just.
But the thing
let's,
is, I hate subscribing to rumor,
yeah.
but
Hollywood rumors are all coming true, though.
true. See, because look at it this way, okay? J.J. Abrams, when what was it, Star Trek? His Star Trek 2 came out, Star Trek
Into Darkness. Yep.
And he was saying that Benedict Cumberbatch was not Khan, right? But
was
he was totally Khan to lie, and he was Khan, right?
Yeah.
Or Kevin Smith. Oh, no, don't worry about He-Man. It's not going to be like the Tila show, and no, He-Man's not getting killed, but he ends up getting killed anyway, right? So
I don't think he specifically said that.
No, he was good.
I think his non-denial denials just weren't very clear, whereas JJ was blatantly lying.
Oh, totally.
People figured out Benedict Cumberbatch was actually going to be Khan. They weren't stupid.
Yeah.
And then they showed it in the fucking trailer. Sorry, it's like I can believe.
Thank you, Jar Jar Abrams.
Okay, so how about this though? It's just on this subject, particularly with the indie problem we have currently.
Right.
Harrison Ford he cannot do the role forever.
No, because right now he's like pushing 80.
He's over 80. He's like 84. He's over
really?
80. Yes.
Oh my God, time flies. Well, yes. I mean, look, when Indy 4 came out, he was like around 65 or something like that.
He was in his 70s.
Yeah. I mean, and for a guy still of that age, he was doing pretty good still. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but
yeah, let's
remember,
face it.
in episode 7, he broke his ankle
Yeah,
tripping on the doorway of the Millennium Falcon.
that's right.
So, I mean, he's not that well off, and obviously they do stun people. Now, here's the
Yep.
thing: if they wanted to do Indiana Jones as a Harrison Ford looking person,
Yeah.
they could pull that off for all time due to deepfakes.
Well, totally.
If they wanted to continue his legacy as is,
Yeah.
they could find a way to do it. And frankly, Indiana Jones could always have been an animated thing. They
Oh, for
really could
sure.
have done it. They could do a really good CG series. They could do a very well animated series, and I don't think that's technically a Disney product, right? That's a Universal, so I guess it's sort of in there somewhere. I forget who
Um,
owns it. Or Columbia. I forget who owns that.
Paramount.
Who is Paramount under at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Do we
Good
even know?
question.
But either way,
Because everybody's bought everybody. So
everybody's bought by everybody else. Somehow Disney owns everyone. They just don't know it yet.
For all I know, Paramount is now owned by Baskin Robbins. I haven't the faintest idea. So
Well, Baskin Robbins always finds out.
that's right. They do.
As we learned in Ant-Man,
There is no
which is a
escaping to watch
Disney
Baskin
property.
Robbins.
For about 5 minutes, it's a Disney property, but that's a different discussion.
That's right. So,
But the idea of letting a woman take over the reins
right.
is not terrible as long as it would make sense. And as at least in my mind, if it's not she's becoming Indy
Right.
rather than Indy dies, but Indy's job still has to be done. Like,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that concept.
No, there isn't. Because the position is earned through, strife and mistakes made and lessons learned.
And mine carts.
Exactly. Well, yes, of course. Because
mine
you gotta have those.
And
Rather
polymers.
than, oh, you're dead. Here's a position I can fill just because.
But I think, because you remember the rumors from 6 years ago that they're talking to Chris Pratt about taking over as Indy, like a new reboot of Indy and letting Chris Pratt take over.
Yeah.
But I think there could have been a thing. I mean, they could get other people to play him too. I mean, you could get
totally.
you could get Scott Eastwood. You could get any guys in their late 30s, who are still really good actors that are physically well off to do it. And they could literally pick up as the same Indy, would just ignore, Harrison Ford rolling out of the role. I mean,
precisely.
We can literally take over and try to be within the same universe to the best of our ability, replace all the actors that need to be replaced and continue on. Or, if old Indy dies and we just call it a wash, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
And then as somebody takes over, obviously Mutt isn't going to be doing anything from the last movie. Because why would you possibly have the son of Indiana Jones potentially take over? That wouldn't make any fucking sense. But then again, with Shia LaBeouf,
oh god, yeah,
get Chris Pratt to replace Shia LaBeouf as Mutt and let him continue.
Perfect.
Come on,
because as we all know, Shia's career is so dead. It's not coming back.
His little independent movies he put out were actually pretty good. But he's done being a mainline star.
There was one that I do remember watching actually a few weeks back. What was it that he was with this? I think it was like some Down syndrome kid or something like that wanted to become a
Peanut
wrestler.
Butter Falcon.
Yeah, the Peanut Butter Falcon. Actually, I will admit
that's a good movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, and then the other one he did that I can't remember the name of is also good, but this is something I want to make clear, and this might be you might share the same thing, is that we're not against the concept of a woman filling in a main role like this, but it depends on how it's done. It's much like the conversation you and I had about representation between gay and trans people and how it's done in Hollywood, and not that we're against the concept of it, but how it is handled, presented. And
Yeah.
I think with Phoebe
Bridge.
Bridge, uh, fine. I mean, like, I guess she's a good actress. I can't think of what else she's been in. I know the name. I just can't think of anything she's been in otherwise.
There was like Fleabag.
Fleabag, that's right.
Yeah, and she played the robot L337 in Solo.
Oh, she did. She played Elsa. Okay, so she played the voice
Yeah,
of
she
that.
was the these
super woke robot.
oppressed droid.
You know what? People talk a lot of trash about L7, but that was actually like her sassiness and all that stuff, and the fact that like her own thoughts and honestly, it came back to bite her in the ass in Solo because
Yeah,
it was both helpful, but it bit her in the ass because she set off the robot revolution that technically got them saved on Kessel.
Yeah,
But it also got her killed. So it's like, but then again, she also became a permanent and very important part of the Falcon because of that.
Yeah.
And then Lando would just have to find a new port to. Never mind. Anyways, that's why he wanted the Falcon back so bad.
Well,
his lady, but I mean the minor wokestry that was involved in that movie aside,
right?
Fine, that could be a pretty good character. I mean, I don't know her. I wouldn't know her if she showed her to me, but like I said, if you want to put her in Indy's place, as long as she doesn't put on his hat and say "Call me Indy,"
yeah,
cool. If that's the route they go, burn it to the ground because no.
Yeah,
just having women take over or replace what is or was for the sake of it just being a woman is realistically the problem that we're trying to address tonight. That would be because, for instance, the ever so loved 2016 Ghostbusters reboot.
Oh dear God.
The SNL reboot.
Yeah.
I think if you took the Ghostbusters label off of it, I guess it would be okay.
If you were to call it something like Spectre Eliminators instead of Ghostbusters, maybe it would have had a chance as a comedy.
You know what would have been funny is if it's called Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And then the next one is called The Real Ghostbusters, just like the cartoons did, because that would be funny.
And that would work, right?
You're being summoned.
Even though the saying is variety. So, thank you. You're grounded and you're in the will.
Wait, you're adding her to the will. You're getting all the garbage now.
That's right.
I'm putting you back in the will, young lady.
You're back in the will.
As a punishment. Means you have to carry my ashes.
Just like she said, oh no, I'm not.
It's like you have to carry my Ashfield peg leg around for the rest of your life. That's what you get in the will.
You will leave it on the couch in my spot.
So removing some of that, not all of it. So Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Oof.
I think that they had a great concept. And then they went, how do we make this worse?
Yeah.
And
see, individually, okay, if you were to put all of these women in their own movies, which they have been, right? You know, most of them have done fairly well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But altogether, it's just constant jokes that run on and run on when it should have ended like 5 minutes ago.
You mean like getting wontons, like getting the wontons right?
Yeah, oh God, the wontons. It just kept on going on and on. It's like, please, just shut up. It's like listening to a really annoying person drone on and on and on about something when all you wish you could do is just clean out your ears with an ice pick.
Or just hit end broadcast.
Or do that, yes.
Don't click away. Don't click away. Almost knocked my drink over. I think that what that movie suffered from is we're gonna do it itis.
Yeah,
And it's not that a female led movie can be bad. Bridesmaids, fantastic movie,
that
and
was a great movie.
and has many of that cast in it.
Yep.
Um,
Alien and Aliens, right? Sigourney Weaver.
a female lead protagonist, yes, but not a female led movie in the same way, because it was also not because okay, so Alien and Aliens, and not counting the ones that came later,
Right.
we'll sort of accept Alien 3.
Right.
Ripley was a strong female character, period.
Right.
And the men around her either respected her or made fun of her and then realized how bad of a badass she was and then respected her.
Precisely.
But she never had the weak woman moment or the I'm taking over here, boys.
Yeah.
Except in 3, technically speaking. But
So
that's only because
yeah.
they weren't
but only
listening
because
to
of
her.
experience,
Yeah.
right? Due to the other two movies. Yeah, because she totally gained the respect. Let's put it this way, okay? In the first Alien movie, it was due to survival purely that caused her to learn and act quickly in order to survive, right?
Yes.
Because there's just one alien on there. Aliens 2, it was because due to a bit of experience what happened in Alien 1. Marines didn't believe her after a while, but they soon became to believe her when basically shit hit the fan.
Everything hit the fan,
right?
Yeah.
And she proved herself by learning from the Marines. On top of that, I might add, how to use weaponry properly and whatnot, and proved herself to be quite the capable woman.
And she wasn't, and so she was the opposite of a damsel.
Yeah.
She was just a strong female lead, a well-written character that could handle herself, could find her way out of a situation and survive, even if it meant, terrible things happened to other people, unfortunately, but continued on even until the end of her life, literally being a badass woman.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of, say, Ghostbusters, it needed to, and by the way, those movies were of their own merit. They weren't relying on anything else. They weren't reboots, except for later on reboots, but that's a different story. No wokeism, generally speaking, in alien type movies. Even Covenant dealt with a lot of other stuff, like the enslavement of androids and whatnot, and creator versus created.
Yeah.
Nice. It was actually really written well, even though a lot of people think Ridley Scott was losing his mind by then. But either way, we're not talking about that. We're talking about why they're making women-centric movies that are basically anti-men, and they feel like they have to run off of created characters or IPs to make it happen, like Ghostbusters did.
Right.
Even to the point of having the original Ghostbusters be in the movie as bit characters, but all of them, with the exception of Ernie Hudson, basically being either on screen for only a second or being a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like Bill Murray goes out like a chump.
Exactly.
Which is fine because all the fans know what he did to the Ghostbusters franchise.
Oh yeah.
And he does not deserve to be in Afterlife, and it's bullshit that he is.
So true.
Does not fucking deserve it. Either way.
Gotta have top billing, damn it.
Deserves no billing. He doesn't deserve toys. He doesn't deserve anything. He is the reason it's either way. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this. Okay.
Right.
But so what I wanted to get at was like Ghostbusters was a bad example.
Yeah.
Of a woman-centric movie basing off of a male-centric movie to hopefully do better, and it didn't. The fans hated it. It was a bomb.
Yeah.
Some people liked it. Like non-fans enjoyed it. People who like just silly comedies enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Some people who just like action, fine. The CG was actually pretty good. I'll give them credit for that. It was a cool looking movie. It was badly written. The motivation for the bad guy made no sense within universe. It was never really explained. But it is what it is. But it was also meant to be its own contained thing. And frankly, from the comic books, we know that there there's a Ghostbusters multiverse.
Yeah.
So if we can just say that happened on Earth 75, who cares?
Precisely.
And if we
Keep it
do,
buried.
if down the
Over
line,
there in its own little pocket universe.
dude, I will give them credit if they want to go into the comics, the IDW Ghostbusters comics for
Yeah.
movies down the line, and give us Ghostbusters multiverse fighting all of the giant interdimensional gods together with like 29 different versions of Ghostbusters from other universes.
Exactly.
Bring them involved in that. That will be
Go for
badass.
it.
Let them do that. But when you have somebody like Chris Hemsworth being brought in to be the stupidest man alive,
Yeah.
to the point that he's covering his eyes due to loud noises, that's a problem.
Exactly.
And that's and he was, I guess he was fine doing the role. I don't know. He's coming off of Thor and a few other things.
Well, you know, I mean, hey, when you're being dumped a lot of cash in front of you, you know, no matter what the role is, you'll play to anything.
I guess that's true. It's just like, well, one, that's just being a Hollywood whore. It is what it is. Well, but exactly. if he enjoyed it, fine. If he had any issues with it, which I did, one because of the name of the character, but we'll just leave it at that. But the fact that they brought in somebody to be their secretary who was brought in because he's quote unquote pretty but stupid is the exact opposite of what Ghostbusters 1 did with Janine.
Precisely. Everything about that movie is just basically flipped on opposite. It's opposite day, right? You know,
but only in certain ways.
Here's the thing. You know, you had very capable guys.
Mm-hmm.
You knew that, well, first of all, when they were first starting out their equipment, they didn't even know if it was going to work or not, right?
They're just playing
totally
with
untested.
nuclear reactors.
But meanwhile, you have in 16, it's like, oh yeah, it's sure it's going to work. You know, we kind of tested it, and it's like, you know, whoo, that was fun. You know, let's make a bunch more jokes that just drag on for another 5 minutes. See, the thing was about the original movie, like all of them had very distinct personalities, right?
Yes.
Ray was the heart of the Ghostbusters.
Very much so.
Egon, the smart guy. Ray,
the smart guy with no personality. Yep.
Precisely. Yep. Ray was the Winston, sorry, he was just the average Joe, right?
Yeah, he was the audience.
He was the audience.
Yeah, precisely. He was our proxy.
And Peter, I mean, he was the mouth. So he spoke what everybody basically thought.
Yeah, you know? he's the ass.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Janine,
she's the anti-Peter, basically.
Yeah, she's basically the anti-Peter, right?
Yeah.
But you have in 2016, they're basically all the same. Essentially, they're all trying to top each other with these childish jokes, you know, and then you hire this guy for secretary that essentially, you know, has the IQ of fungus.
This pen and when you click it, it goes down. Literally, that's him getting dumber. That's dumber. That's him.
There you go.
So right? With the characters,
it had no heart. It had no brains. It had nothing.
The one thing I'll say about that movie, well, actually, I'll just say this as actually about both movies, the original. So the first movie was not meant to be a comedy. You just had funny people in an absurd situation.
Yep.
And funny stuff just kind of happens due to it.
Exactly.
You have two straight up comedians and then two actors.
Yep.
And you've got the two straight men who just, you know, Egon doesn't know how to take a joke, and Winston has no fucking clue what's going on.
No,
he's just like, I'll carry this for a paycheck and do whatever you tell me to do. I don't have a clue what's going on.
I'll believe anything you say.
Yeah, he's just literally, you know, I don't know anything. I just work here is the definition of him. And then Janine is a badass in her own right. Annie Potts, while not ugly, is not the most attractive. Actually, I would argue that the cartoon Janine was actually made more attractive.
Yeah, I'd have to say
Very
that.
super 80s, by the way, with the hair and
It was.
but she, other than like her weird little romance with Lewis Tully in the second movie,
Yeah.
There wasn't anything for, she wasn't meant to be a sex symbol. She wasn't meant to be a romantic foil. She wasn't meant
No.
to, she's literally the one who yells from the desk, "Boys, we got one,"
Yep.
and rings the bell.
She
She answers the
was.
phone. She deals with Walter Peck,
Yeah.
and all that kind of shit. She was there to do her job, and she took it seriously enough because of
That's
whatever.
right.
And she didn't take bullshit from Peter
That's right.
or anybody. And I guess she had a minor crush on Egon that was never really explored
Yeah.
later on. But this in the new one. Okay, so we did our descriptors of the original Ghostbusters individually.
She was your typical New York woman.
Yes.
That was essentially trying to earn a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like everybody else in the Big Apple.
Yeah.
And she wasn't going to take crap from anyone.
But she also, like I was getting at though, is like that was a straight movie done by funny people.
Yeah.
Wasn't meant to be a comedy.
Exactly.
2016 was a comedy movie that was trying to be straight.
Yeah.
And they added comedy. So
yeah.
You've got the main characters, Abby, and the other one, I forgot her name, but Kristen Wiig and
name. That's how forgettable it is.
Well, I remember Abby because that's
yeah.
You told me her name earlier. Why do I keep forgetting this? Melissa McCarthy. So Melissa McCarthy is Abby. So Abby and Kristen
Patty.
Wiig, yeah, but at least I didn't steal the names. I'll give them credit. They weren't going to bother like trying to do a female version of the names. So she's meant to be the Egon. So she's meant to be kind of one of the straight ones. And then Kristen Wiig's character is meant to sort of be Ray, kind of.
I think
she's kind of meant to be Ray because she and her family believed in the occult, and that's Ray. Ray's belief in the occult came from his family, just like actual Dan Aykroyd. All of his occult beliefs and how this movie got written was actually based off what his family does and has done for hundreds of years. So the backstory of her seeing a ghost at the foot of her bed was what led her into wanting to study ghosts and how they got into the science of ghosts and all the blah, 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 blah. And then you get Kate McKinnon's character, who is like a weird combination of Egon and Peter. So super smart, super sassy, and a bit crazy. So
exactly.
And honestly, her character, great. Because she was in her own movie. Like, she was doing her own thing and other people were there. The other two are dealing with their bullshit, and then you get Leslie Jones's character, who is the literal Winston of the character, and to the point that her uncle, who loans her the car, is
loud and obnoxious.
And well, leaving that aside, I just mean the fact that character-wise, she was the straight person who got into this. By
just answering an ad,
Well, she remember she helped them in the subway when they were tracking down the one ghost.
Yeah.
So that's how she got exposed, and they said, "Who are you guys?" And then the thing on the wall.
Exactly.
So she was the straight person who didn't know what the hell's going on and gets involved. She's kind of the audience representation, but the fact that they were forcing comedy versus they were. Because our the two main leads are supposed to be very straight women, like like they're very serious.
Exactly.
These are comedians.
Yep.
And they don't know they're in a comedy, but it's definitely a comedy.
Oh, totally.
Where the other guys were comedians who knew they were in a straight movie and they're going to make it silly. They're going to take the serious bullshit and they're going to make it funny without trying.
Yeah.
They tried too hard.
And it's so forced.
And I think some of the funny stuff that does happen is legitimately funny.
Yeah.
Like, but some of it does go too far. Like when Abby gets possessed and Leslie Jones is smacking the shit out of her and, you know, whatever. And then she hits her again after the ghost is gone. Like, okay, that's been done a million times. Kind of a funny moment. Bill Murray dying, that's funny in its own right. Shoehorning in the old actors for bit roles.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But the Kevin character, one being a moron, two hops on the ghost bike and like
Yeah,
wrecks it,
and
two and then gets possessed by the bad guy, possesses the entire police force to start dancing like this is the mask.
yeah,
uh and then they end up cutting that bit and putting it in the credits, which
in
actually
the credits,
was
like,
honestly fantastic. I'll give them credit. That bit is funny, but it has no part of this movie. Like,
no,
in and of itself, Chris
there's no
Hemsworth
reason why it
doing
need
that.
to be in there.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
Chris, the comedic factor of Thor doing that and then the cops having to dance along with him, that in and of itself is funny because they never went to like full war with the cops in
no,
the
they
old
didn't.
movies. And then, okay, remember in this one, the mayor knows what's going on and believes in ghosts and says, no, you got to fix this, jump in on this.
Yeah,
Very different versus the mayor who won't help them, the EPA guy trying to shut them down, where instead
exactly.
you get all the non-believers or the people who are trying to discredit them differently, you know, who cause issues
Yeah,
like
and
Bill Murray letting the demon thing out. What was that?
oh, that was my computer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. But yeah, it's quite the
But-
contrast because, you know, oh yes, we're going to believe you because, you know, you're women.
Women's, yes, exactly. That was the other thing, is they were trying to discredit them because they were women. He said, I'll
Yeah.
take this, I'll do this because I am man. So it was them versus everyone, fine. But it wasn't done well. Once again, women
No, it
taking
wasn't.
over a position in a movie with characters that are based off of something that was a boys movie.
True. Yeah,
But
exactly.
now
And it was trying to be everything for women.
yes, they were trying to give
you know,
women their Ghostbusters.
exactly.
Kind of.
Right.
When realistically, women have a Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason that the old one can't be for women. I'm sure there are plenty of women who do love it. And
They're
while they,
totally.
yeah,
Because I
there's
mean,
female
like
Ghostbuster divisions
like here in
everywhere.
Calgary, when we have the big Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo,
Mhm.
you know, there is a Ghostbuster club
Mhm.
here in Alberta, and there are quite a lot of women
There's-
that are part of it.
I think there's a really big one in Chicago.
Yeah,
Like, they've got like 100 some odd members,
yeah.
and there's men and women alike.
And when they filmed the new Ghostbuster movie coming out at the
Mhm.
beginning of November,
Yes.
there were, well, pretty much an equal amount of men and women that wanted to be extras in the movie when
Of
they
course.
filmed it actually around here.
Yeah, you apparently have a lot of stuff filmed near you.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
yeah. Tell me about it.
and by the way, just
2 years ago, they filmed in Crossfield and here in Carstairs, Ghostbusters,
nice.
and got to see the Ecto one and all that. It was quite fun.
And I'll say this about the new movie.
Yeah.
Given that we've lost at least Egon, and
Yeah.
at least in universe, I don't know how many of the cast technically remain in universe. Unfortunately, still Bill Murray. It's fine if they have a couple of female leads.
It is,
but
it's
they did,
perfectly fine.
and even though it's going to be like kids
Yeah.
doing it, guess what? The kids found the shit.
That's
But
right.
it doesn't mean they're going to be the only ones who pick up a proton pack.
And I think Annie Potts is playing like
She's come
somewhat of
back
a pivotal role in it.
Yeah, she comes back as Janine.
Yeah.
You know, she'll be in it. She'll probably be somebody who convinces somebody to do a thing.
And on top of that, you know that she married Egon.
Oh, I didn't know that in this. I didn't know.
Oh,
she was-
yeah.
So we gave up on Lewis.
She married Egon because in the
Justice for
trailer-
Lewis.
In the trailer, she mentions your dad wasn't very much of a handyman.
Oh, that's
But-
right. Well, then again,
Yada
maybe
yada yada. Right?
Okay,
In the
okay. I
garage
missed that.
Is the Ecto one?
Actually, hold on. That doesn't mean that she is mom. She just knows Egon, and she's talking to the daughter. So doesn't necessarily mean. But even if it is, who cares? You know, they just justice for Lewis. Except for the fact, if Rick Moranis was still in movies, he would probably be involved. If Rick Moranis, if he cameos, that would be great. You know, he left movies like 20 years ago.
I would love that. Love to see Rick Moranis come back.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
I mean, granted, what happened to him? You know, with his wife passing away, like years ago and whatnot, and taking that time out to
raise his
take care of
kids
his
and
family.
Yep.
Kudos to that guy.
Yeah, he had enough money. He said,
You know?
I'm going to go take care of life. And
Exactly.
acting wasn't super important. I got my
6
big roles. we're good to go. But okay,
Precisely.
all of that aside, I wanted to bring up
But
a contrast real quick.
yeah,
A female centric movie based off of a male centric movie that actually I feel was done well, but a lot of people still have feelings about. Ocean's
okay.
8.
About what?
Ocean's 8,
Ocean's 8.
the
You know what?
spinoff.
I really gotta honestly say I have not seen that.
So it's
Not that
it
I didn't want to see it.
yeah.
I just haven't had the time to actually see it yet.
So as somebody who's seen at least the original 3
Right.
Oceans 11, 12 and 13,
12 and 13, right?
uh those movies are great. 13 is 11 and 12 fantastic movies.
Right.
And this as a spin-off, not a reboot, a spin-off, because it's Danny Ocean's little sister who has
Right.
followed in Big Bro's footsteps, wants to pull off this big ridiculous heist against some super rich bitch. And
This is what I heard, yeah.
honestly, great movie. I
Hmm.
really enjoy this movie. I watch it with the wife whenever it's on. I didn't think it was going to be good, but they needed somewhere to go with it. This, kind of how if they wanted to do indie in the future
Right.
with Phoebe's character,
Right.
if there's a handoff and it's done in the style of Ocean's 8. Sorry, I got some crud. I would be okay with that because it was a handoff. Unfortunately, there has been no other ones, but those are all phenomenal female actresses, even
Right.
including, was it Rihanna? I think it was Rihanna. Yeah. So even Rihanna's in there. Mindy Kaling, talk about, lots of representation. You've got an Indian, you've got a black woman, you've got an Asian woman, you've got a British woman.
Right.
That's a hindrance. She's British. And then Sandra Bullock. Just being Sandra Bullock is difficult in its own self because she was married to Jesse James at one point.
Yeah.
But I thought that movie was actually really well done. Anne Hathaway, because, anyways, big Anne Hathaway fan here. But I think that movie as a movie that wasn't a full-on reboot, but carried on the notion. It's another pun because it's an ocean. Carried
You're
on
good.
notion.
You're good.
I know I'm good.
Very subtle.
I'm very subtle.
I like that.
I think that when it comes to characters like that, women being badass of their own right without having to live in the shadow. And that movie is about coming out of the shadows,
Yeah.
out from under a bigger shadow of the male counterpart.
Right.
And it works. And I think that indie would be good if they did that, but they would have to have the established relationship of why she would take over other than I found the hat and whip.
Well, precisely. Right.
Now, that leads into this new problem we have, as you brought up earlier, with Mr. Bond.
Yes.
And his/her potential future.
See, the thing is, you don't have to either retcon or think you have to fix a problem by eliminating what you think your problem is, right? In this case, how it's slated that the new James Bond is not only just going to be a woman, but obviously it's going to have to be a woman of color. Miss
in theory,
Lynch of Black Panther fame, right?
So, yes. So with Bond basically being lined out in rumor, at very least, to not only be replaced with a woman, but supposedly a woman of color, this was brought up to our current Bond, Daniel Craig, in a Radio Times interview, which I will now very awesomely just go like this and bring it up here to what he said.
Yeah.
So he asked what he thought about the idea about being given to a woman or people of color, not just a woman of color, but people of color. And I honestly, the problem is he's picked up a ton of flack for what he said, and it makes no sense because what he said is literally this right here.
Yeah. The answer to that is very simple, he said. There should simply be better parts for women and actors of color. Why should a woman play James Bond when there should be a part just as good as James Bond, but for a woman?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and he's caught a ton of flack from this because I guess people just didn't understand what he was getting at. I mean, I don't think there's a misunderstanding of what he just said.
No,
He
there isn't.
literally, he literally said, it's like, frankly, there should be better parts for women and anyone of color who wants to do a thing. Like,
Precisely.
why do you need to take over this exact character? Because you have to go on the name, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, but I mean, in modern day, Bond fame has really kind of circled the drain a little bit, comparatively.
It
Uh,
has.
and I'm going to bring this up just real quick because I think it's a fair point. People want a James Bond of color because there's a very specific person people have been begging to take over the role of James Bond for years, Idris Elba.
Right.
He would be an absolutely fantastic Black Bond.
Oh, for sure.
And only
I would have no problem with that whatsoever.
You gave up the headphones finally?
Yeah, I did.
I knew you would give in. You're so weak.
Because I have a weakness for that little woman. So
be a good dad at least. That's fine. But
exactly.
I think that, and I don't know if he's not up to play the role. I think at some point he may have refused it just because he's like, I don't need to play Bond. But I think if there was going to be somebody who's at least British-esque, I don't know if he's specifically British, but he's close enough. And he's charismatic. Bond has to be super charismatic. He has to be able, and this is the important part. I think people forget when they say they want a female Bond. James Bond is a whore.
Yes. In order to get the job done, he has to be.
Yes. He
in
is
a sense.
He is a man whore. He gets paid to sleep with men and or women, to get information, to get close to people,
to seduce,
to seduce them, and to use them.
Yep. Exactly. Because if the fate of the world is hanging in the balance, you have to have that certain charisma to be able to get information no matter what, at any cost.
You've got to bang Denise Richards to save the world. You gotta bang Denise Richards.
Have to.
Because Christmas comes more than once a year. That's the best line of that really terrible Bond movie. But I love that line.
So glad you remembered that line.
Yes.
Because I totally forgot how that line went.
That was, I think that was his, was that his final? No, that wasn't his final.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
I think the Halle Berry one was
because Christmas final. Comes out once a year. Only once a year.
Can come more than once a year. That is the final line of that movie, by the way. That's fantastic. It's the final line of that movie. Either way, Denise Richards was terrible in that movie. Let's just be honest. She was there for a reason. But the idea is that, other than Moneypenny, depending on generation, he has to basically just bang his way across the world until he gets to the answer, or he'd have to be after a very specific target. To flip that role to a female, it's part of the character. It's an intrinsic part of the character to be a charismatic, manipulative man whore.
It's not the same, right? Because I mean, how if you have let's say, okay, that Bond 007, let's just put this back, 007, because it's a designation, okay?
Yes. And actually
007 is, let's just say, female, okay? Let's leave color out of it, okay? Sure. And she has to seduce in order to get information to, again, save the world, okay?
Yeah.
Just like male James Bond, right? The jokes are going to end up writing themselves, okay?
I guess so.
Because it's going to be like, she's a hussy, she's a horse, she's just sleeping around. Or what's going to happen at a particular time of the month? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't seduce you because I'm on my period. Like,
Well, if you if you go the
you're
Black
going to
Widow
have
route,
to time it. I'm
well,
sorry,
no, I'm just
you
saying.
can't time your missions based around your period. I'm
No,
sorry.
but
I'm
you gotta.
sorry, M. I can't. I can't
And
seduce
so
like the
if we
king of Spain
it,
because I'm on the rag this month.
King of Spain, presumably that a super spy would in fact be sterilized would make more sense. That's why Black Widow did it, so there was
Oh
no
yeah,
connection, and you don't have that problem. You can do whatever you got to do. And realistically, Black Widow as a character is super James Bondish.
true.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
can definitely kill anybody that you need to,
yep.
can do whatever you gotta do to get to whoever. We're not going to ask questions about what was happening in the original Avengers before she got tied up to that chair and her boobs are all up and whatnot.
Yeah,
But she was. By the way, that was fantastic. I'm right where I got this guy right where I want him, chained to or tied to a chair, getting information out of this guy by being a victim. It's hilarious. But
dang.
you would have to have a Black Widow Bond. That would be what you'd end
Yes,
up with.
that's
But
that's all you need.
but here's the other thing, and this was brought up on a stream that I was watching the other day.
Right.
The other thing about the reason that Ian Fleming wrote Bond the way he did, both as being a white Englishman,
Yep.
the villains he's fighting are across Europe.
Yep.
What is Europe full of? White people.
Yep.
He can blend in anywhere.
And
Now,
it
this
also
is
helped that that's what he was doing.
yes. But it's not that women can't, but there are certain countries where it wouldn't work out the same because
Exactly.
unfortunately women don't have equal rights everywhere. In some places they're going to be treated differently. They're not going to be allowed access to
Yeah.
everywhere. They're not even going to be allowed to show their faces in some places.
Yep.
And given the modern world and some of the places modern James Bond has had to go and do things, unfortunately, due to the way that part of the world works,
Yep.
a woman could not do the same job.
Precisely. You're going to run into a lot of cultural problems.
Yes.
Where it is totally unacceptable. And it's not that like you and I, it's not like we don't believe that women can't do it, right?
Well, obviously
has nothing to do with that.
Because we see women do it in other roles that are very similar, as we'll discuss here in a few minutes.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, in the same interview, though, a little bit further on, he was okay. So, oddly enough, Phoebe Waller-Bridge came in with the scripting process.
Yeah, she did.
So she was the perfect fit, and I do like what he specifically had to say about her in this particular situation, because she was coming in to basically help tweak the movie, because the character that is going to take over as 007, it does matter, and you don't necessarily want to have specifically some misogynistic asshole writing it, which what they would probably say anyways. But I like this. He said, she's got devilish humor. Her influence permeates a lot of this film. She walked that fantastic line of keeping it as a thriller and being very funny. But Phoebe didn't come in to change Bond. She came in to spice it up for sure. But she's a Bond fan. She wasn't about to take him in a different direction. So even the same woman who is potentially taking over for Indy is now also over in the Bond camp, in the very literal sense, helping write this latest film. I forgot what it had the title somewhere. I forgot where it was. No Time to Die. And look at it this way. Okay, so like you said earlier, 007 is a title. In fact, James Bond may not even be his name. It may be associated specifically to being 007. Maybe.
Right.
That was kind of not... It was sort of explored in the first one in Casino Royale, and I think it was potentially explored a little bit in the actual novels. But if he dies, they will need a 007, because he came in to replace the previous 007 that died.
Exactly.
And it's kind of, it's almost like Men in Black. You know, you'd lose a letter, you got to replace that letter somewhere
Right.
down the line. But it helps if you have somebody with the same first name that goes with this associated letter. But okay, so say Craig dies,
Yeah.
or retires in this. I mean, I would prefer to see him retire and just sort of disappear, like, you know, Batman at the end of uh, Dark Knight Rises. You know, just go try to go live a civilian life and forget about it. You know,
Yeah.
and then sure, a new 007 takes over, and we can still stay in this Bond universe. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't be a woman. It just depends on how it is applied. I know we just argued about all the actual issues with having a super spy that's a woman, but you would have to probably be someone like a Black Widow type character to get there, you know.
Exactly.
But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen because of what's been written and what's been acted on. And we do have more articles here specifically
True.
from
Yes. Like the one from
Lashana
Bazaar.
Lynch. Yes.
And oh boy.
So she's the woman in the film.
She is the woman. This is the woman in the film.
Okay.
The same one that was in Black Panther.
Okay.
So
Okay.
If you're familiar with her, you know, whatsoever.
I mean, I might be, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But while you talk about it, I'm going to Google her.
So yeah, as written in the Bazaar article, yeah, she's making history as the first Black female 007. So like it says here a little later on down in the article, yeah, Bond's franchise's 25th release, in which she stars as Naomi, a secret agent who inherits the 007 title while Bond himself is in exile. She responds, yeah.
Oh, there it is.
She
right
responds
there. Okay.
thoughtfully to each of my questions, getting right to the heart of the matter to tell me what she really thinks. And so, quote, while we're not being hijacked or muted, she says, when we have the opportunity to talk, I'd always rather speak to you as though it could be the last time we get to say these things.
Okay, so she's saying that to the person interviewing her.
Yes.
In response to saying that, like, basically a woman, if not a woman of color, may or may not be able to say things or speak possibly.
Exactly. Right. Because, you know, time is just since, you know,
okay.
I was supply.
I was reading the rest of it there. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, further on. Yeah. Initially, when the Bond opportunity came about, Lynch had reservations about joining another.
She was Maria Rambeau. No, sorry. I was reading. She was Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel.
In Captain Marvel.
Okay. Okay. Because I didn't know anything I'd seen her in specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I like her though. She's pretty good.
She was not bad in Captain Marvel.
And she's already English, so that helps.
It does. Well, it always helps if you're English. Yeah. Initially, when the Bond opportunity came about, Lynch had reservations about joining another franchise, about getting lost behind the man, as he puts it. But on speaking with the producer, Barbara Broccoli, because she actually inherited the Bond franchise.
Isn't it technically broccoli?
Or broccoli, yeah.
Isn't it technically broccoli? Sorry, I couldn't.
I could say it that way, but
I'm sure it's broccoli, but that is definitely broccoli. Right, it's 100% broccoli.
Yeah, it is. It is broccoli.
Sorry, Barbara. Broccoli. I just couldn't get past that. I didn't like that. Continue.
Yeah, it's you know.
Okay, so the director is Kari Joji Fukunaga, which I assume is a Japanese female.
Yeah. Joji Fukunaga.
Took me a second. It's Fukunaga. Okay.
Yeah. So so she understood the intentions, ran along hers. Before filming began, she sat down with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Remember her because she's taking over as Indy. who was there to infuse the script with a fresh female perspective, right?
Mhm.
Lynch wanted to ensure Naomi was suitably drawn,
That's technically
believable.
Nomi. That's not Naomi. It's Nomi.
Oh, it is Naomi. God, I've been saying it
See,
all
just
wrong
like
this
the
time.
white man,
Yeah,
instilling
yeah.
extra letters on a black woman.
Forgive my aged eyes. So,
It is kind of
yeah.
tiny.
Suitably drawn, believable, perhaps even a little awkward. She set out to portray the truth of being a black woman.
Okay.
The truth, right? It's her truth, remember? So someone she might know, someone in her family, avoiding the two-dimensional view that can be so easily conveyed on screen or in written scripts, right? A character that is too slick a cast iron figure. That's completely against what I stand for, says Lynch. I didn't want to waste an opportunity when it came to what Nomi might represent. I searched for at least one moment in the script where black audience members would nod their head, uh, tutting at the reality, but glad to see their real life represented. What real life is she talking about?
In
Here's
this
here's
particular
the
case, okay,
here's
hold
the
on.
thing. Here's the thing. What like okay. Most of us know how out of touch most of these celebrities are. I think, right? What kind of real life is she talking about? Is she talking about like this real life where she thinks that all black people are oppressed, or
No, I'm getting weird tones that come across every now and then. I don't know if it's feedback. Sorry, it just was in my ears.
yeah,
I think what she's unfortunately trying to say, and I'll give her some credit. It's just how she's saying it versus what she means. And yes, this is me going to be mansplaining what a woman is trying to portray. I think what she's trying to say is black characters are often written a certain way, depending on who's writing that character, and she wants someone who could at least, referring to herself,
yeah,
portray that character as a more authentic black person versus the white perspective of that black character. And given we've had some very strong uh, black movies in the last few years, I get that. I really do get that. Like,
oh, I do too.
not the ones that are super woke, but the ones that are written where the characters, if not even historic characters, are written properly from the perspective of someone who understands that perspective. Although
Yeah,
she might want to check the silliness of what she said because she's talking about playing a super spy. So
that's
uh,
pretty much it. See,
now
because
the other,
the thing is, with a little bit of this whole, how should I say, fallacy of this portrayal. Okay,
okay,
in Bond, I mean, you had like Trina Parks, who was technically the first black woman in James Bond, right? Who played
says
a
says what?
very excellent character as a spy in her own right. Then you had Grace Jones, who again was another Bond girl,
And
although
as we discussed, like she's a Bond villain
villain
girl,
girl. Yeah,
kind of, but
sort
also
of, kind
Grace,
of.
yeah,
She kicked ass.
and Grace Jones was a supermodel,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
So
and she was a badass in the
she
thing.
was a total badass.
I mean, look at her with the gun. Let's just be honest here. She's fucking frightening.
Exactly.
She was
I wouldn't want her
intimidating.
to crush me between my, her thighs.
Yeah,
God,
exactly. I mean, dude,
no.
she's totally picking that dude up to chuck him.
Yeah, I know, right?
But then
So
again, this might be talking. Unfortunately, I'm looking at some of the articles. So she quits the new James Bond film.
yeah,
Wait, what? She was supposed to be in the new. She was supposed to be in this one.
something like that. Yeah,
So what happened? Okay, that's
I
something we should look into. That's interesting.
that's another thing,
It
right? And then later on, you got Halle Berry that played Jinx, along with Pierce Brosnan in another James Bond movie,
and she
right?
was mostly badass.
Yes, mostly badass. She was,
But she
mainly
was
eye candy,
she was
but
very in this for eye candy,
but
but she also wasn't the helpless Bond girl.
exactly. But the point is, you already have these strong black women
hmm
performers that have already been in James Bond,
But
that
they
have
weren't.
proven
But
themselves to be quite capable to hold their own along with James Bond.
they weren't Bond.
But they weren't Bond. This is true, right?
So that would be the point. And now that synopsis was included in there, that I'm going to be honest, I forgot that he's in exile. Like
Yeah,
he's after the last few movies, he's totally in exile. So the title was given up. So he's not technically James Bond, or at least 007 anymore. So that means, as we were discussing, the role has to be filled. So her character isn't taking over from Bond. We're walking into this movie. She is the new 007, and for whatever reason, she's going to be crossing paths with him. Because it's almost like the Bourne identity. It's like, come on, please let Bourne relax, and then if you get to just keep dragging his ass back.
yeah,
That seems to be that's literally the case almost since the end of like Quantum of Solace. It's literally been like they just keep dragging his ass back, and all he wants is out. He's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Stop making me do this, M. Why do you make me do this, M? That's a nice DB5. Anyways, wait,
see, the thing is,
does she get to drive the DB5?
yeah,
No, because that's his car. That's literally his car. So
I know,
maybe not. That's his car.
but
I'm just saying.
guaranteed, it's going to be hers.
But to your point, we've had strong women of color in Bond movies prior, and either they were a Bond girl turned antagonist, usually, because that's what he always does. He does the thing, and then they go evil on him because they're always working for the bad guy. But also, Halle Berry had a long run of being a super smart, strong, capable woman who usually, while pretending to be weak to a man, was actually manipulating him to get her way. If you look at like Swordfish, for instance, there's also this kind of era, probably actually I think before this movie. We'll ignore Catwoman because the movie was garbage, but in general, that also that was a woman of color taking over a primarily white woman's role, except for Eartha Kitt, technically speaking. But also not playing the same character. She did not play Selena Kyle.
Nope, she did not.
So they didn't. So once again, allowing her to take over the role of Catwoman, but not be Selena Kyle, much like taking over as 007.
That's right.
But not James Bond. And for the love of God, they better not call her Jane Bond, because that is garbage. Give a better name. Make it worth it. Now, the thing
Janet.
is, I don't know.
Karen.
I knew you were going to say Karen. I knew it. I knew that was the next name that was coming.
You could figure it either.
I think the problem they're going to run into is that nobody will want that. And they're going to turn it into, well, you're all just misogynists and you don't want to see a woman have a starring role.
That's right.
Like, that's not technically true.
No, it isn't. See,
that's not how we feel.
the whole thing after over 50 years of Bond, right?
Yes.
Of 007. 007 is synonymous with James Bond. James Bond is synonymous with 007. Every time you hear either 007 or James Bond, bam, instantly the music goes off in your head, right? The circle goes across the screen and James Bond walks out. And
like
in the center of that pure ridiculousness.
I forgot that was in there. I had to scroll down. I forgot it was in there. So yeah, I mean,
It's synonymous. You can't have one without the other, right?
no,
It's
no.
it's like you can't replace you just can't
You can.
picture anyone but Han Solo and Chewbacca flying the Falcon. You can't
Well, I mean,
see
we have
you
Ray.
can't see anybody else but Harrison Ford as Indy in the hat, right?
Well, that's once
It's
again, but Indy's not a title. Indy's his name.
no, that's true.
Now,
But
like,
the thing is, when you see one, you
mm,
instantly associate it with the other.
yes, that's
You
the.
know,
But it's like realistically, it's like Hollywood wants to take the iconic things,
yeah,
and instead of allowing them to continue the way they've been iconic, they feel like they have to piggyback upon that iconography, for lack of a better term,
yeah,
to sell a new character or sell a new actor
precise, yeah,
or actress in this case. And if you wanted to do this once again, this movie's not done that we know of, or well, I guess it's done. It comes
oh
out in
no, it's
November.
done.
Yeah, I realize it comes out in November. I know what I said.
Yeah,
Uh, the thing about it is, if it comes down to, okay, she's 007 because he's gone. Nobody
yeah,
knows that he's even alive. He's in exile. He gets drawn back in for whatever reason. What if, we doing all this hubbub and everything like that? What if she literally says by the end of it, look, you're the 007, I'll let it be buried with you. And then she takes on 008, 006 instead.
if you know
Like,
what,
look,
if that happens, I'm okay with that.
then there's literally no reason to complain. But
Exactly.
if it's literally like, we're taking this because we can,
Yeah,
and then it's okay, if it's one movie, this is the end of it, who cares? It's the end of Bond as we knew it,
yeah.
because that's what happens. It reboots every 15 years, give or
Well,
take,
precisely, right.
and
You know,
it's not technically the same Bond every time, even though I think you could probably argue the early days, Roger Moore, Sean Connery, they're kind of the same Bond. Like, it was all sort of same. You
well,
got
yeah, exactly.
you got
Because
Blofeld, Goldfinger. Those are all sort of overlapping.
yeah,
Uh,
it's almost like kind of like Doctor Who in a way, right? One
yeah,
actor
because
gets done after a few seasons. Okay, we regenerate to another Doctor. Yeah,
but at least
except
that's one.
in this case, it's like yeah,
And
you're getting older. We're going to replace
if
you, and it's kind of like a reboot without not being a reboot in a
yeah,
sense.
it's a
You know,
reboot with the same. Well, Doctor Who is a continuous reboot in and of its own self, but you can
true.
do that because it's timey wimey.
Yeah,
But with Bond in particular, and it's a character that's been played by multiple people in multiple multiverses, if you want to
yeah,
go there. Um, and it's always worked because it's always been at least a dude.
yeah.
And once again, without trying to sound misogynistic,
No,
Craig was right,
yeah,
because you could have a new character that's like Bond
yes.
and that is a person of color or a woman, and
Well, that's
let it
right.
be. And it could even be in the same universe. Let Bond die as it goes,
Yep.
and then carry on with a new title. If you're going to stay in this universe specifically, give it something else. It doesn't have to be called 007
Exactly.
whatever. It could
Exactly.
be, I mean, it would be odd to give him
Put
another
it,
double.
yeah. Put it out there, and if it
Let it be a
flies,
new thing. Like,
then
just
the audience will like it. Go ahead with it. If
Ocean's 8.
not,
Ocean's 8, this mother.
yes.
Like,
If
she
it
doesn't have.
succeeds, great.
Yeah. I mean,
It'll walk on its own, and everybody will be fine with it.
yeah.
But don't take. Well, again, it's like don't take what you really didn't earn, right? In a sense that James Bond has basically earned the crap out of that title that he iconically carries, right?
I think
Yeah,
even
if it's gonna be again, and
look at it this way. Look at it this way. Just tossing it out there. say you continue on with that actress as, let's just say 008,
Yeah.
because we just let her be one better. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then down the line in the same universe, because they still haven't filled in the 007 role, Idris Elba steps in
Yeah.
and becomes the new 007 slash James
James
Bond,
Bond.
because we're saying
Exactly.
that James Bond goes with that name, and now he takes over that role. He doesn't have to take over the series, because we
No.
can also Fast and the Furious this bitch. We can
Yeah.
have our Hobbs and Shaw and our normal mainline. You can have
Precisely.
a branched universe of 00 or
Exactly.
MI6
Make
or
it a
MI5.
spin-off.
You can literally have, and spin-offs are hard to do, but if you're gonna do it this way, it is a spin-off. It
Yeah.
is taking what the original did and changing it in such a fundamental way that you're gonna lose people. They
Precisely.
want to do it to gain a very specific perspective on it. And while there's some, by the way, I love that your screenshot includes all of your windows that you had open at the time. That's so funny. Anyways, so also your wife's going to be like, why were you Googling a whole bunch of half naked black women earlier today? And you
You
say
don't know
it,
to. You don't
it's
need
okay.
to know that.
Yes. So I
That's
mean,
top secret.
but the idea to let a new character exist
Yeah.
and let that character grow and become something of their own off of what came before, without taking what came before as their own.
Exactly. See,
And
you know what the big problem is with Hollywood?
China,
Here's the thing, okay?
China,
With franchises that have
franchises.
stood the test of time, right? For 40, 50, 60 years, right? Like, say, for example, James Bond or Star Wars or Star Trek or a lot of other franchises that have stood the test of time, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
By brilliant creators and brilliant writers that that knew the character inside and out because
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that created them, right? You suddenly have them handed off to a new generation of
My
of
generation.
writers, and they're instantly like licking and smacking their lips saying, oh great, here's an opportunity to insert uh you know
Whatever agenda,
political message of some sort
whatever
into
agenda,
it.
whatever
Yeah.
message.
And they don't deserve to write
How
these
dare you?
movies because they didn't do anything to put the work into these characters that have lasted for decades, right? It's like all these characters are taken for granted and sacrificed on the altar of getting a particular message out, depending on which way the wind blows, right?
This
um
sounds like an episode 8 problem.
Yeah, yeah. It
Where,
is. It is. It's exactly
even
episode
though
eight.
that one actually didn't
It's
have an agenda.
exactly Last Jedi, right? That's what it is.
I
You
don't think
know?
you and I have ever directly discussed that movie, but I don't know that
No,
we
we have
necessarily.
not. Oh my
I don't
god.
believe we share the same feelings about that movie, but that's okay.
Ruin Johnson. I'm sorry.
See, yeah,
Just
we don't share the same feelings there. I feel the same that Bobby does.
yeah,
Yeah, that was the best of that two movies.
yeah,
There was not a third one. There was no third movie, and that was the better of the two because it took a chance. So, okay, so look at it this way. Look at it this way. So, yes, you are correct in the whole new writers coming in with a new agenda, and they do
yeah,
whatever they want with pre-existing characters, even existing actors in those roles, and
yeah,
they make things happen that, in a lot of ways, anger old fans.
yeah.
Ryan Johnson did that with episode 8,
Oh
but
god, yeah.
listen to this in a lot of ways. It divided the fans.
Oh,
But
for sure.
what it didn't do was actually serve an agenda, where I think episode 9 was all about serving agendas. They had
Oh, it was.
besides making up for it. But episode 8 took a risk to invent something new from the ashes of the old that they kind of had to make happen, unfortunately. Now saying goodbye to the old guard is not a bad thing. It really isn't. If you're staying within an existing universe, the old guard has to go somehow. Not everybody's going to ever be happy about it. With Bond, depending on how they do it, people are probably going to be pissed one other way. Indiana Jones, exact same problem, because they're
Yeah.
probably just going to do him, well, like Han
Oh, yeah.
Solo. Let's just be honest here.
Yeah.
It's like how many more movies that he is the character is he gonna have to die on screen so that someone else can take over, basically doing the same thing he does. I forgot where I was going with that, but either way, the point is, like, you can take chances and write a new movie with old characters and introduce new characters to pick up the mantle
Yeah.
in a way that will divide a fandom, but is not overtly bad. Being divisive and being a topic of discussion in and of itself, not a bad thing. Ghostbusters, bad thing.
Yes.
If they had come in and said those were the original Ghostbusters and they all got shit jobs, they can't do the thing anymore, and now these crazy girls have come in, basically reinvented their tech, threw
Yeah.
them to the curb, we're Ghostbusters now, that would have been more of a shit movie than it was.
Yeah.
And it would have divided fans even further.
Oh, yeah.
But the new movie, Afterlife, is all about the passing of the guard.
Yeah.
We haven't had, just like the Sith disappeared in Star Wars, ghosts have disappeared.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters have now become irrelevant. The Jedi became irrelevant, mostly because they all died. In this one, they're all retired. Egon has died. And coincidentally, the Sith are back in a new form. And the new guard has to take up the mantle by accident or by circumstance. And I think that can be done really well and handled well, even if you're changing genders, even if you're handing off to a literal younger generation, you can
Right.
do it. But you can't do it to set an agenda. You can't be like, this is my problem. Just like when they said Robin is now bi.
Yeah.
And we made a big old headline about it. Just like we say, this character is now going to be this. We're going to now be including this however many intersections in our characters in the future. And we're going to be altering these 5 characters to now fit this agenda. Been like, one, making that announcement that way shows you clearly have an agenda. 2, you can have those characters be those things without it being a giant big deal. They want to have a black female 007. Okay, fine. Make it work without it being an overt agenda driven thing on screen.
That's right.
You can keep the fans happy even in a situation that they probably wouldn't be. And you can have strong female leads, you can have strong female badass characters, much like the one I have pulled up over here with Nikita.
Exactly.
Very much a Bond type character, literally, set up to seduce and kill.
Yep.
More of the seduced.
We've had plenty of them. Yeah, we've had Nikita.
We've had multiple Nikitas.
The first one was released in France, and then we had another one throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. There was another Nikita show with Peta Wilson, and then a few years ago we had a couple of seasons of this one, and then we had Alias.
That's all the way at the end. I gotta. Okay, so there's La Femme Nikita, which is not the same thing, but very similar.
Yep.
And then Alias, which
we had Alias.
Ran for what, 8 years, 8 seasons or something like that. For a long damn time. She was super spy. Yep. And then of course we'll just forget the part where she disappears for 3 years and forgets everything and then comes back. But then again, you could do that with Bond. It would still be fun.
Right.
But she was a badass.
Yep.
And we'll just throw aside, this is also in the middle of the Elektra years. We'll just let that go. It's fine. But once again, a female lead with a spy badass character.
Yep.
Who was emotionally available, but also very smart, very well driven.
Yep.
And there's no reason that in a universe like that, it couldn't be done. The whole idea of there are Bond-like characters that can be done and clearly have been done, but they didn't have
Exactly.
to be James Bond. They just had to be like that and then earn their way, as you
Yep.
were pointing out, to being something awesome. And then you mentioned Atomic Blonde, which I've actually never seen this movie. Was it good?
It was,
But at least Charlize
but at least
Theron
they
is
tried.
a. But
That's
yeah,
the
they
thing.
tried a new-ish character.
Yes.
I think this was it a comic or it was something? It was based on something. I know that.
Yeah, I think it
But
was like a comic or something like that
yep.
of some sort.
But once again, Charlize is or has slowly become a badass in a
Yes,
lot of her roles over
that's right.
time. And she's played super spies, and then of
Yep.
course now she's in the Fast series as whatever weird leader of some underground group that whatever that role sucks, but the character is what it is, still
Yeah.
a very strong, powerful
Yeah, and
spy
she played another
woman
strong woman in Prometheus.
for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes. Yeah.
But unfortunately, she went to the wrong school of running away from things.
Yeah, and got squished. Hard lesson.
Hey, look, let's just be honest here. She wasn't ready when Daddy came out.
No, she wasn't.
Add that in there.
Spoiled
All-
brat. Trust one kid anyway.
and then you had this particular movie in here, Gunpowder Milkshake.
Powder milkshake.
Now,
you know what? But yeah, and I've still yet to see this one. But
and here's the thing. So I'm just gonna, because I told you earlier, so I'm gonna tell the three people who have watched this far,
go for it.
including myself, because I'm gonna watch this. This movie was not good, even though it features a lot of really good female actresses, and like it's incredibly violent. Unfortunately, not done well.
Right.
Like it had a good story lined up. It was not done well. I slept through most of this movie, unfortunately, and it's not because of the women that are in it and stuff. It got boring. This is how not to do this type of movie. This actually could have been a shorter like miniseries, and it probably would have played out better. Realistically, it was fun at the beginning, and then it got slow and repetitive and boring. By the third fight, I was falling asleep.
Oh,
and
wow.
if you have an action movie full of attractive women who are also badasses, you should not be falling asleep. I don't care.
No, precisely. See, and again, and it just proves the point. It's not the women.
No, it's not.
We are not liking. I like Karen Gillian. I liked her when she was in Doctor Who. I liked her playing Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Lena Headey. I liked her in Game of Thrones. She played a really badass character. Bad.
Yeah.
Not bad, but
evil.
She played a bad character. She played it very well. Even when she was in what was it, back in Fox like years ago in the Sarah Connor
Chronicles. She was Sarah Connor.
Exactly.
But also she was the queen in 300.
That's right.
Another badass woman.
She's very capable.
Yes.
Of being a very excellent actress.
And she did some fine killing from the 5 seconds I saw of it in this movie.
There you go.
And this was built to be a very John Wickian type universe.
Right.
But unfortunately it didn't work as well. And I don't blame the story was fine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the cinematography and probably even directing was not good enough for this movie. And that would be a problem. So take the new Bond, take the new Indy, for instance. If they have a good director and they have a great cinematographer and they hire I forgot his name. Is it Roger Deakins who is lighting? That man can light anything and it's fantastic. Yeah. You can make a good movie out of something that should be crap.
Yeah.
If you have the right people around. If you let the wrong people do the things, whether they are doing an agenda or frankly, they just suck at their job.
Exactly.
Because you can just suck at their job and make a bad movie. This is an example of that. I think this was one or two people sucking at their job and making a movie that wasn't great. And I think they had a great recipe. I think they just didn't have the right mixer or they didn't have the right order of ingredients. They didn't have the oven set to the right temperature. Somewhere along the lines, in this case, and probably several other cases, like Ghostbusters, except Ghostbusters, if this is a, for lack of a better term, parody of John Wick, it worked as a universe. It worked as a world where you have trained killers who work in a sub-society, who like in this case they have a library. That's where they can meet up, and that's where they can change out weapons and get all their new stuff instead of a hotel and things like that. You know, and that part was kind of cool. That's where what's her face here? Is it Gina? What's her name? This one. From
crap, I forget.
You know who I'm talking, but from Son-in-Law. Yeah, that's the movie she was first in.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Either way, she's a great actress. One, she's also very hot. Loved her work in Sin City, by the way. So why? You almost had it, didn't you? You almost had it, didn't you?
I did. It was so close.
But so it's like there's nothing wrong with them wanting, and I mean, women of color, people of color wanting to have roles that are similar to these giant mainstream things. And that's exactly what Daniel Craig said. And they should have their own roles.
They should.
We didn't need a black Iron Man. We needed a Black Panther. And we got a phenomenal not Iron Man.
See,
and unfortunately,
if it's not broke, don't fix it. Right? In the house of ideas, you know, if you have an idea of your own, let it fly. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, well, then, you know, you have to put up with the scrutiny of the crowd.
You go back, you listen to the crowd, and you go back to the drawing board.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, they listen to the minority, not the majority.
Exactly.
Because
and on top of that, they have to listen to the shareholders.
That's true.
In some cases, I think
the shareholders are very important.
Oh yeah, you know, and sometimes those shareholders,
Let's just be. Well, here's the thing.
I think most of these movies are written for them instead of written for thee. So you know, because this is a lot of stuff that they just like to push.
Movies for me, not for thee.
That's right. You know
what? Well, here's one thing I find interesting. This new Bond movie, if it plays out the way that they have it currently laid out, it's not going to play in China.
It's not.
Because they don't like people of color. No, they don't want, like, Black Panther didn't really do well over there, even though it was like the biggest movie of that type, literally, ever. Yeah.
And Shang-Chi is not exactly doing very well either.
That's for different reasons.
That's entirely
different.
That's entirely different.
It's
not the highest grossing Marvel movie.
Hollywood needs to learn to make movies that people want to see versus making movies that will make more money in a market that it wasn't developed for.
Yeah.
If you want to make a movie for China has a movie industry. They're good. They can make their own propagandistic things that they want to do all they want. They'll always be happy with it. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Don't make a movie full of mixed race women and hope that it's going to sell in China, because they don't like women and they don't like people of color. You're not going to see that. So stop making movies that are targeting an audience that doesn't matter. Make a movie to be the best movie it can be. Stop doing it for the dollars. Stop doing it for an agenda.
Stop putting it for your big ego trip.
That too. And also don't make movies based off Twitter complaints. Yeah. Because that's how you get the worst movie in a long, sad history of not great movies.
Exactly. I can just see that coming out next. Twitter, the movie. Who will be outraged?
Who's going to play Jack Dorsey?
Jack Dorsey.
No, it'll be
It'll be Pablo Hidalgo.
no. Oh, but yeah, actually, that might be interesting.
That would be
No,
interesting.
that would be the problem. That would be too interesting. It'd be like somebody. It'd be like somebody interesting trying to play Mark Zuckerberg. Oh wait, we did that already.
Yeah, yeah.
Then let's see who was I just thinking of though to play. Oh, it would have to be somebody very method to play Jack Dorsey.
Mm.
To be Twitter the movie. Twitter the musical would actually be more fun.
Twitter
Let's
the
just
musical.
Twitter the musical would be
Ooh,
fantastic.
ooh! I got it.
Yeah.
John Malkovich.
No. The only way that John Malkovich could play Jack Dorsey is if he's speaking Malkovich.
There we go.
That's the only way to do it.
That would work.
Being Jack Malkovich.
Yeah.
the Twitter musical.
Yeah.
But we're talking about Hollywood, not Jack Dorsey.
Yeah. But no,
stop.
Yeah,
with the men hating. Guys, men are good and awesome, and men should have all the roles like a Shakespearean play.
Yeah.
I really think that they think that we are still in Shakespearean time where men play all the roles. Like white men play every role. Even the women, used to be even the children, even the black people.
There used to be a time when Shakespeare was around when actors were literally the equivalent of whores.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they were looked at.
Actors are still whores.
And now you're seeing the same thing in Hollywood. Everybody is whoring out to a particular agenda of wokeness. They're let's face it, we've gone downhill. Directors and producers, they released movies that to them it was literally art. Now it's literally about messages.
True.
Is what it is.
I think
we're overblown with special effects. Every movie is just basically a special effects movie,
True.
and with a message behind it, right?
True. It's very sparkly propaganda.
Yeah, there's hardly any attention paid to character development whatsoever. And here's a situation, here's a person, and he's dealing with this situation hardly without any effort whatsoever, right? Well, you need more movies like what was that one with Michael Douglas? With he's the disgruntled worker.
That's
you know which one I'm talking about? He just had this really bad day.
No, that's God, I can see it because the cover is him, glasses, shirt, tie, suitcase, gun. Oh, what is that movie called? It's not Breaking Point. It has the title has nothing to do with like the thing.
No, I can't remember. Exactly.
If only we had a Google machine nearby.
If only.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is like that's the Joker's origin story. Realistically, one bad day, basically.
Yeah,
but you're right. You're right. We don't write movies to be good stories. We write movies to sell product or sell agendas.
Yeah.
And once again, nothing wrong with a woman or a person of color wanting to play a main role of a character such as James Bond or Indiana Jones. But you can't just drop what is and force something to be.
No, you can't.
But if you develop a character that can replace or be as equal to, that should be the goal. If that is what they did in this new Bond movie, great.
Yeah.
Because the articles do frame it badly. Well, at least one of them does. The other one doesn't. One of it frames it with an agenda, or at least maybe that might be how we're looking at it, unfortunately. Whereas it could just be she's saying, I'm playing this character the way I feel this character should be properly portrayed versus how someone different would write this character. Because I am a black woman, I'm gonna be involved in the writing of this black woman character instead
Mm,
of letting some white man tell me what a black woman character should be. And
yeah,
honestly, I'm okay with that. Like if Black Panther was written by a white guy, I don't think it'd be as good as, Ryan Coogler directed it.
yeah.
Ryan Coogler does make good movies. He does. And
I think though,
it
also in a way, it could be a fatal flaw, right? Because you have these most of these actors imposing how they're wanting their character to be written, right? When they're not a
I,
writer or a storyteller per se.
I
Incidentally,
could
the
see
movie was
that.
called Falling Down with Michael
Falling
Douglas.
Down. Thank you.
Yeah,
It was in my head. I couldn't think of it though.
yeah.
But
But like if you're see if you have that particular talent to write a character or a story,
I think
then,
that
then sure, I don't have a problem with it if
yeah,
you have those kind of credentials. If you're just the type of actor, though, that says, okay, I want you to write my character this way because I'm the one that feels like it needs to be written this way,
I mean,
well,
yeah,
then we got a
that's fair.
problem because it's not exactly going to do very well for the story overall,
I
right?
think I
Because
agree with
you
you.
don't have a personal investment in the character creation itself. You're just wanting to have your input
Well,
based on, say, race or some sort of credence of
well,
some sort, or yada yada yada, right?
while I agree in a lot of cases that is true, but in a lot of ways there have been incredibly iconic characters that have been altered by their actors' influence on the character. And like say Captain Jack Sparrow, he had that walk because Johnny Depp thought by imitating uh what's his face
Yeah.
would work in with this character, and then he thought that the sway that he had with all of that was a lot of Johnny Depp. He
Yes, I
created
agree. In
he
those cases,
created
it
Jack
can
Sparrow.
totally work.
And in this case, the way she wants to help influence at least how her character is written,
Yeah,
because it's a black British woman playing a black British woman, fine. Like, because she does have insights that other people might not have. Now, if a black
yeah,
British woman was writing for that character already, who cares? We're there. But obviously, in this case, that wasn't what was going on, and she wanted to give some insight towards it. And I can appreciate that because, once again, if I've got to play if I've got to play a Southeast Texan who grew up kind of in the country but was raised in the city, I don't want somebody from Seattle writing my character.
yeah,
That makes no sense. That person has not lived remotely close to my life. But
precisely.
if I'm playing a character that's based off of essentially who I am and the life I've lived,
Yeah,
why would I have somebody write that character, whether it's dialogue, because it could just be a dialogue thing, it could be backstory, it could be a lot of those things, and
yeah,
that's fine, as long as it fits the story and it fits the character and it doesn't stand out. That's the thing, is
exactly.
like, you don't want it to stand out. You don't want it to be a conflict, especially with directors or writers. You don't want the actor to go against the character that's being written. You want the two to flow together as naturally as possible.
Yeah,
And I'm fine with that. It's just I can see how it seems like an agenda there, but I also, it's unfair for people to attack Craig for
yes,
having that opinion because it makes absolute sense.
it does.
It's the same reason they created Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Yep.
That's a
See,
different
and the
Catwoman.
thing is,
It wasn't a good
when
movie.
yeah.
Unfortunately, it was a bad movie. But
See, and also in the bizarre article, she goes on to say that I feel very grateful that I get to challenge these narratives, right,
okay,
of conforming stereotypes around race and gender that have persisted for far too long, right?
and
Like, so she also says, I'm moving away from toxic masculinity and what's happening
okay,
because women are being open demanding and vocal and calling out misbehavior as soon as we see it.
Now, I
Toxic
agree.
masculinity.
Well, hold on. I agree with a lot of those things,
Yes,
but
but
it depends on how it's done.
right.
Because one, toxic masculinity does exist, especially in Hollywood.
Yes.
You know, especially amongst directors, producers, studio heads, all those assholes who have made a whole lot of problems
Oh yeah.
over the
In
years.
real life, yes.
But here's the thing: there's also toxic femininity.
Yes.
You can't do the exact opposite. You can't, and it
Right.
happens. You know, unfortunately, and I think a lot of people would say that perhaps Kathleen Kennedy falls victim to that. I don't agree necessarily, but that's fine. We don't have to agree on that.
Right.
But if she's talking about breaking racial and gender stereotypes, cool. I mean, those exist. If you
Yeah.
say, if she's meaning specifically that a black woman can't do this because she is a black woman, by all means, break that. Like,
Yes.
do it. That's fine. If you want to, but let's just throw a big old asterisk on the breaking stereotypes.
Yep.
Do it in a way that makes sense.
Yep.
And isn't just a big middle finger to the way things are.
To
Like,
a certain, yeah, to
like,
the way things are, or a certain franchise, or
okay. A lot of people. Hold on, let me say this. So,
yeah,
given racial stereotypes,
right.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
While a lot of people misattributed it to being super woke, it actually ended up being very anti-woke. And they dealt directly with racial stereotypes that were a problem, and they showed them being a real world problem.
Yeah.
In the history of said real world problem, while realistically putting it on a billboard, but in a real way, not in an absurd, almost parody way to get their point across.
Yeah.
And I think that in this particular world of Bond, I don't know that there's any black people even in MI5. I can't recall. It's been a long time since I've seen any of these movies. But if she's
but then again, you did have Felix with in the new Bond movies, who happened to be a black guy.
Who is he in those?
The American.
Oh, well, he's American.
Yeah.
Either way, okay.
But still, right?
But like I said, it's been a while since Quantum of Solace was the last one I saw.
Right.
So I'm behind by like 3. I didn't even watch Skyfall, which was apparently incredible. Incredible.
Go watch it.
So I know. I just want to watch it for the Adele song.
Yeah.
So, but if in that particular universe, like, so you said you basically one of the only black men who's in this is an American, not even a member of MI5. Which is that right? MI5? I think it's MI5, right? No, MI5 was or MI6 or MI5, one of those. Yeah, I think it's MI6. Either way, I said so. If they literally don't even have black members, and their first black actual 00 agent is a woman, hey, as you justify that within the story, without it being like a Captain Marvel situation, cool. Like, if we get like she was the best person for the job and the only opening we had in the 00 department was 007 because Bond is fucked off somewhere to an island where he can die in peace. Cool. Justify it within the story, make it make sense, and don't give it a stupid woke billboard. Yeah. Just give it instead of
because if that happens, guaranteed the franchise will be dead.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that MGM is now owned by Amazon.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah.
And
because remember that sale happened a few months ago.
And once again, if they wanted to do spinoff with her as a new character, a new 00, and let the 007 title just go away, that's good too. In fact,
Exactly.
in a way, that way she doesn't even have to live up to what 007 was.
Right.
All she has to be is herself. And I think that's the problem is they say they don't want to live in the shadow of what was before, but they literally stand in the shadow of what came before and say, I wish I was this, so therefore I must have it.
That's
Instead
right.
of just saying that was a thing, that thing is gone, and
Yeah.
now I'm here to be me and be the best me I can be. And
Yeah.
it's a hard place to start,
It
but
is.
it's a better place to start.
Yeah.
Just like he said,
Yeah.
and same thing with Indy. If they can justify Indy being dead and her taking over somehow, as long as
Yeah.
they justify it, they make it make sense, and it's not just woke garbage.
Yeah.
You can still have some people who'll be upset, but you'll have the people who are like, as long as Indy gets a good send off, it's okay if we hand over the bullwhip and hat.
Yeah.
Actually, don't take the hat because you can take the whip. Don't take the hat. The hat is his.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
And I think that
Because first with Indy,
yeah.
let's just say this is going to happen in the 60s, time travel back to Nazi era.
Well, if he's going to be
younger
young,
Indy.
and if he's young, Indy's going to be the late 30s, right?
Oh yeah.
Or it'll have to be mid 30s.
This is the thing. It's going to be old Indy
Post war.
meets young Indy.
But
right?
but I'm saying depending on if he's going to be teenage Indy or if he's going to be like in his 20s,
he's going to be he's going to be younger Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark Indy.
Oh, okay. So he's going to be running into a de-aged, 38-year-old Indy.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, that's fine. It wasn't like young Indy. So just jumping back to the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, because if you remember what happened during the 60s, it's all about the civil rights movement and equal rights for black people and women and blah, 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 blah. So you can see if the rumors are true, it's going to be a lot of certain messages here.
As soon as time travel became a part of it, it was going to be dumb.
Yeah.
As soon as it was that. And like I said, there's many routes they could go with Indiana Jones. They wanted to animate it. They wanted to just hand it off to a younger actor to just pick up the role and pretend like we're taking over 5 years after Raiders.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Last Crusade. Pick up 5 years after
Last Crusade. Just ended right there.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you pick up 5 years after that adventure, doing whatever, and you just give it a new character to play Indy, and you just roll with it. Just fucking roll with it. Like literally just keep the character going, fine. If you feel like you have to absolutely replace him with a woman, at least make it worth it.
Exactly.
Don't make it bad. Make it worth it. Make it make sense, and you will piss off less people. And I think that's the problem. And I think
many people that have a job and a career, work for it.
Yeah.
Everything good that happens in life comes through hard work. Nobody got anything easy.
Just
right.
Well, yeah.
Nobody just hands it to you.
Except for Elon Musk. Of course. I mean, he was born to be the ruler of Mars. So, I mean, it is what it is.
That's right. Warlord of Mars.
Well, he's literally named after a ruler of Mars from a book.
There you go.
So he was born to literally be, and I think it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
All the pieces are falling together.
So he was not only named after this character, he's also spending his life trying to get there. So realistically, he is the reborn Prince of Mars trying to get back to his kingdom after having to escape to Earth after the rebellion that took down his family. That's a fucking movie I want to watch. And it's not John Carter.
And then you just made it awkward. No.
No, because then Elon Musk will be played by a black woman.
Yeah, there you go. Off comes the mask.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
Well, you know what? Okay. Yeah, and with that being said, it's
a perfect place to end it.
So, Shoki, I want to thank you for being on tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me.
awesome to talk to you.
Yes.
And we're definitely going to have to do this again. So
yeah, this is fun, except for the fact that this was supposed to be like 40 minutes and it went over 2 hours.
yeah, there you go.
And I
Right.
can't fix all of that in the edit.
No, and I don't expect you to. And and hopefully we're going to have lots of people to
complain in the chat,
to hopefully find the time. Guys out there in the audience,
and ladies,
yes, we can't forget about you and you ladies out there. If you got nothing better to do for another 2 hours, take a break, have a sit down, have a listen. Shoki, where can people find you?
You can find me anywhere that you can search the word Shoki, because apparently I own that now. So if you just type in Shoki on YouTube's, you'll find my first 2 channels. If you're remotely interested in other random stuff I do, I also have a channel called It Doesn't Have to Make Sense, which is basically how that goes. Instagram, Shoki Reviews, or it used to be The Shoki. I think it's now Shoki Reviews. And yeah, that's what I do. I do fun, nerdy conversations and or reviews of things. And actually, this guy was, I forgot it for backwards. This guy was featured on this weeks ago on our first big long conversation. So this is fun, and I've been trying to get him to have me over on his channel so we could have a discussion, and we made it happen. And it took way too long, but we knew that was going to happen. I didn't expect the Ghostbusters conversation to go so long, but it is what it is.
Give him quality or give him quantity. Why not both?
Even if it sucks, give them a lot of it, right?
Exactly. I will cram it down all of your throats because I care. So
about those men in power problems. Hashtag me too.
There you go.
Mike just me too'd me in this. Please don't shove everything down my throat.
There you go.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Anyway, good night, geek gals and geek gals, guys. This is the Comic Relief Crusader, and all of you, stay safe out there.